Boom. Go. Do it.
This is real life, you guys. So I'm like, what are we going to talk about? And Brandon's like, blah, 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 blah. And then we start arguing. Here we are. All right, you guys. So
It's flow.
we just want to bring this to you in real life. So if I have a lisp today, it's because I have a gigantic canker sore right here. And it hurts really bad. So if you don't mind, give us hello. If you know a magic canker sore recipe, let me know. Anytime I'm stressed, that's where it comes out of my body. So maybe we should talk about what I'm not feeling. But anyway, what we're going to talk about today, it's pretty bold. You aren't fat, you're inflamed.
Bold.
Might be bold. I hate the word fat. It triggers me so badly.
I think I think we can see a little bit here for your own.
All right, guys. So what we actually really want to talk about today is we've been talking about nourishment. We're really close to the camera today. We've been talking about nourishment all week, so we want to talk to you guys about a different concept of what's actually going on with your body with inflammation, what we can actually do to reduce it. We've got a 10-day detox or 10-day reset that we're going to share with you guys. So if all of this stuff has landed with you and you're like, oh my gosh, that's totally me, there's a simple, not easy, fix that you can do for this where it's going to handle all parts of you, right? The actual physical nourishment, the mental, emotional side, all of the things. So we've got it in this pretty little package that we're going to chat with you guys about. So, hi, Nate. I love that you're in quarantine because we get to see you every day. So, hi, Evan. All right, guys. So we're going to start here. Brandon, you can start with what we're going to talk about. We have
it's like a cell.
It's like a little cell. Skylar drew us a cell today. I think it's supposed to be something else, but we'll call it a cell.
So obviously all week long you guys have been talking about nourishment, and if you followed the last couple of days, I think we've given you guys a couple nuggets of things that normally aren't publicized, that normally aren't talked about between our external and our internal environment, talking about actually how the things that we eat are distributed and how our external and internal environment affect those things. Now, today, you guys, we're going to talk about, because if you're anyone, I mean, yet again, you're an American, so if you're anyone that is...
Maybe not, they could be watching from
if you're a human being, basically, statistics show that pretty much, well, if you're in the Western side of the world, you probably have dealt with this in some shape or some form of, you know what, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've tried everything, nothing works for me. I can't seem to lose this fat. I can't seem to lose this excess body fat. I can't seem to do these things, no matter how much how strict I get, how much restriction I get into, how much I monitor, how much I intermittent fast, how much I do X, Y, Z, I can't seem to lose this. And so with this, you guys, it's understanding that obviously inflammation is more of a recognized word. Now I'm just going to kind of get that out, what that exactly means. Okay. It's understanding that inflammation could be actually the culprit of your body's own protective mechanisms that is causing you to hold on to those things. Okay. So yet again, I'll try not to get too sciencey on you guys, just to kind of keep it layman's terms on here. But essentially, you guys, yet again, I mean, for hundreds of years, hippocampus oblivious. He said disease starts in your gut, right? And so over the last about 15, maybe 20 years, researchers have really been diving into more of what your immune system is and how it functions from your gut. And they found about 80% of your immune system, and right now your immune system is coming to like a big front of and coming to a big spotlight of the things that we're facing in our world. Now, 80% of it is in your gut. All right. So when we're, when we're talking about your internal and external environment, that's going to play massive roles on that. And so when we're talking about inflammation, i.e. via nourishment, the foods that we eat on there. So, and this can be different for a lot of different people, right? Like there's no staple hold of well, if you eat that, it's probably going to cause inflammation. Yes, there are different things that have been shown, sugars, gluten, processed foods, those type of things do have a little bit more of an inflammatory response, right? Like when they go into your stomach, the acidity doesn't really know how to break it down. It goes into your liver. It doesn't really get broken down and then goes into your small intestine, where that doesn't really get broken down and turns into different chemicals, different proteins. And over time, what that starts to do is it actually eats away the lining of your intestinal wall. Okay. Now, when that happens, you may have heard of the term of leaky gut. Okay. Now, what that is essentially the over time, whether it's the foods that you're eating, the stress that you're doing, that you're putting upon yourself, yet again, your external environment, that's going to affect these things. It actually pokes hole and creates holes in your intestinal wall. Now, your intestinal wall is basically a tube that protects your insides, protects basically the foods and everything that you're eating from the rest of your body. And so when you get holes in your intestinal wall, those food proteins, those chemicals, all that actually seeps into your bloodstream. Now, what happens when that happens, and this is a very layman type of drawing down portion of this, your body sees that as kind of a foreign invader, and so what it does is it creates antibodies and different things to actually start attacking the food particles and everything that's actually seeping into your bloodstream. Now, when that happens, is yet again your immune system is meant to fight off foreign invaders from like our external world and things that are coming about us to protect us. Now, when we're digesting foods that aren't necessarily ideal, our stress is all over the place. We're not getting enough sleep, we're not living an ideal lifestyle, our body starts basically attacking itself. So that's where if it gets too far on there, it starts creating autoimmune disorders. So auto being self and immune being trying to basically put itself out. Now, when that happens, you guys, it's yet again, if you've been following us, we come from the stance that every system talks to each other, and that's important for us to understand that. So when my gut's inflamed, yet again, my gut and my brain communicate. Okay, so it's about 80% of my communication from my gut goes to my brain, okay, via the vagus nerve. Now, when I have that, yet again, an easy way to kind of tell of like, hey, you know what, you might be inflamed on here is, do you have, are you lethargic? Do you have brain fog? Do you have cognitive kind of things going on? Are you a little bit more emotional? Are you feeling depressed? Like, are you not sleeping very well? Like, all these things can affect that, right? And so about 80% goes up, about 20% goes back down. Now, in addition to that, you guys, why we've been talking so much on the emotional and the external aspect is if your body's job is to obviously protect itself and get crud moved away from it, okay? So when you're going through things, you guys, your body needs to get rid of waste, okay? Get rid of toxics, get rid of just the junk that's within us, right? And so if I'm already experiencing inflammation of my gut, that's going to affect your hormone distribution. We talked about that the other day of how your hypothalamus and that access there is going to affect that. But also, if you're not clearing the system via you're all junked up, your lymphatic system's junked up, your kidneys are junked up, your lungs are junked up, your liver's junked up. If all these systems aren't clearing things out efficiently because of the things that we're eating and digesting, because it's already trying to fight off all the things that are chemically manufactured from the things that we make. And I know despite our best belief that the companies that sell us these things have our best interest in mind, I'm sorry, they don't, right? Like, they manufacture and spend millions of dollars researching of how to engineer foods just so we become more addicted to them and more eating without breaks. And so when our systems are all messed up, other systems have to work. So when my lymphatic system, so your lymph nodes are all, so you might have known as the lymph nodes, okay? So in your lymphatic system, think of that as kind of like the waste station of your body, right? Like your lymph nodes are placed all over your body to basically, it's a sanitation system that takes junk and flushes it out of your body. Well, when that's all junked up, so you can feel like in your throat, sometimes you can feel around there. If they're inflamed, you got a lot in like the upper portion. You got some in your armpits. They're down into the inner side of your thighs. If those stations are all junked up and they're not moving anything, you're accumulating waste within your system. And then if that's not moving, that sometimes moves into your lungs to try to get stuff out. Sometimes that moves into your kidneys trying to get stuff out, and sometimes moves into your liver trying to get stuff out. Well, if all those systems aren't working very well and they're not communicating very well, we're just building up toxicity and inflammation, okay? So with that, inflammation, you guys think, the way I like to think of inflammation as kind of like a fever, right? And so when you get sick, you could run a temperature, right? Like you run a fever, okay? to make sure you're still there. You can start.
Super hot.
You can start. Yeah, you are. I married her. I'm lucky. So you can start to run a fever, right? And so that's your body's response to inflammation. Your body's fighting off sickness. It's running hot. Now what happens is that internal inflammation via the things that we eat, our stress, our external and internal environments kind of colliding on there, that also creates temperature and creates heat within the body. Well, if all these systems that are their job is to get that stuff out of the body isn't operating very well, isn't communicating very well, that inflammation, that temperature is going to continue to build. And so what happens in response to that is your body actually produces fat. Okay, so it actually takes fat and produces it from the liver to try to combat the temperature and the internal flame that is actually going on there. And so what it does is these fat cells that is created by the liver, by the liver, actually goes around and actually binds around these inflamed and these antibodies in inflamed cells. Now the issue to basically dissipate the heat. So if you're having those things going on, and your system's is toxic, yet again, you could try to do all these things correct, but your body's job is your body's own defense system is actually creating more fat in response to the things that you're doing in the lifestyle that you're living. And so in addition to that, and the part that I found kind of interesting on there is, I think it's 15 of the 17 white fat cells that are secreted on there. 15 of those actually create more inflammation. So your body's own protective mechanism actually creates more fat in addition to that to try to protect it even further. So your body's job, you guys, and I know for a lot of people out there, it's always like, I hate my body, I hate it does this, I do these. Your body is always trying to work for you. Okay, and I think it's important that we understand that your body is always trying to work for you. It is always trying to protect you. Its job is to always keep you breathing, always keep you moving. It always wants blood moving through your system, because if it doesn't do that, you're no longer going to be on this planet, right? So your body is always trying to work for you. And it's very intelligent, right? Like, it's been here for millions of years, right? Like it's evolved for a lot of things and learned a lot of things. And so it's been able to create these processes in order to keep it alive and to do the things that it needs to do to survive. Now, and why this is important on a nourishment standpoint is because, yet again, we're not just talking about the calories you're eating, the macros you're eating, your intermittent fasting, whether or not you should be going keto, whether or not you should be going paleo, whether or not you should be doing some other highly marketed diet scheme on there. What we're talking about, you guys, is there is a reason why 9 out of 10 Americans, or 9 out of 10 diseases are essentially lifestyle diseases, right? Is because of the lifestyle that we live, not just basically whether it creates heart disease or hypertension or all these other things that go on there, but it's because when we're trying to actually do the things that we want to do and see the results that we're doing, we could actually be causing more turmoil and basically causing ourselves more frustration, because our body's trying to do the things that it's trying to do to protect us from the things that we're doing.
And I think what's cool about that is that when you start to realize, or like we talked about a couple days ago, there's so much more going on than just the food that's going in or the food that's not going in, right? And when you can start to understand your lymphatic system, and you can start to understand that there's ways to drain that and to move it, and like you can actually like move your lymphatic system, it's pretty cool to go, okay, to me, it feels really empowering that it's like, it doesn't matter what I do. I mean, we've talked to so many clients, like, it doesn't matter what I do, my body, I can't lose weight, I can't this, I can't that. It's like, because all they've tried to do is manipulate the calories in and the calories out, and we haven't looked deeper into what's going on physically, emotionally, spiritually, like so much of this. And so when you start to open up this world, it's like, look, there's so many things that no one's ever told you, and it's not your fault. So here's all the things we can do to actually get yourself to change, to be a healthier version of you, to be that person that you want to be. And we talked about this on the very first video that we did, when the gym got shut down and COVID really started to blow up, was like, it doesn't matter right now if you have a six-pack. It doesn't matter. Like, what matters is how healthy are you? What is your immune system doing, and how is it working for you, right? And so the other thing I want you guys to think about, and I talk this on a little bit more on the emotional side of this, but when Brandon was talking about, people hate their body, they're frustrated, they won't respond, yada, yada, yada. Like, take a step away from that and go, well, what are you actually doing Like, be third person. Like, what are you doing for your body that's allowing it to do the things it wants to do for you, right? And sometimes, like, I mean, I did a video on this a couple years ago. It's like, you don't have the right to be pissed at your body for not looking, being, feeling like you want it to feel, because you're not doing the things that allowed that to happen for it, right? So what we want to do is we want to give you guys steps and tools and resources of like, okay, I get it. Now I understand that there's a lot of other things going on. What do I do about it? And how do I actually shift that, right? It's not fix it. There's nothing broken, but it's like, how do I actually fix that? How do I shift my emotions? How do I shift what I'm eating? How do I shift like all of the parts of it? Because like Brandon said, they all go together. So how do we actually shift that stuff so that you can feel better, have better immunity? And guess what, you guys, when you come at it from that angle, the weight will come off. Right? When you look at what's going on internally, when you look at what's going on emotionally, all the things you think you're chasing, when you stop chasing them and you start looking at it from a different angle, all of those things will start to happen. And that's what's so cool about this.
So I'll share a story with a client because yet again, I think the best example is because, I mean, we could sit up here and talk all day long, but I think being able to share examples of this, I think is what speaks true. So I had a client that was married to the scale, right? Like married to the scale, would wake up 7 a.m. every day for the last, X amount of years and step on that thing every single day and pray that what she was doing, it would work and it would move, right? Like she tried every diet. She did this. She punched herself. She did all the normal things that we all do when we're trying to see change and we're trying to create, the magic number on the scale and hoping that validates everything that we're doing in our lives, right? And so started working with her and finally negotiated with her that she could get rid of the scale for a week, right? Like she finally, like her husband literally, like we made a deal, like, okay, her husband took the scale, put it somewhere where she could not access it and got it out of her life, right? And like it created a lot of anxiety, right? Like it created a lot of like, well, what do you mean? I don't know if I'm doing what I'm not doing. I don't know if the thing I'm doing is actually working, right? And it's like, the part that I also think it's important to understand is you don't need an external thing to validate what you're doing, right? Like it's the same thing. I don't need somebody else telling me whether or not I'm being a good husband to my wife because I get the feedback right away to that, right? I don't need a third party validating them. I know the actions that I'm doing to do that, right? Like I know if I go out for drinks and pizza and everything else, I don't need to step on the scale to tell me I didn't do something that was ideal for my body. I know that, right? And so, we got through that portion of it. And we said, yet again, the reason why this is so important to us, you guys, because we started talking about this, right? Like we didn't do anything earth shattering. We didn't start measuring. We didn't start weighing food. We didn't start anything. All we simply did was start getting in more vegetables. Goal was 6 cups of accumulated fruits and vegetables throughout the day, water, paying attention to her mindfulness, right? Like what is she looking at? What is she focusing on? All these things that we've talked to up to this point. And we got her walking, right? Like we weren't even talking about high intensity exercise. We weren't talking about HIIT. We weren't talking about CrossFit. We weren't talking about, she went for a walk 3 days a week. She, about week and a half later, I think she went to the doctor's office. Reluctantly, she got on the scale because she was afraid of the things that she was going to see. Within that time frame, she lost 10 pounds. She hadn't lost any weight in probably the last 5 years, right? And she was doing all the things, dieting, exercise, watching, stepping on the scale, doing all these things. But because of the internal anxiety and everything that was causing and all the other elements that were going on that we haven't really, that she was unaware of until that point, and all of a sudden she started giving herself a little more nourishment, right? Like it wasn't calorie slashing. It wasn't doing anything. It was just give yourself some more fruits and vegetables, just some water, and then we can continue working on these things as we go along. But by doing that, in literally that short time frame, she lost 10 pounds, and a lot of it, honestly, was just the inflammation is getting out of her system because it didn't have anywhere to move prior to that. So the whole goal with this, you guys, is on a nourishment standpoint, things got to move. And we got to make sure we're doing the things so we can heal ourselves from the inside out. Okay? The other aspect of that is we got to be aware of our external environment, how we perceive it, because that is also going to affect how we heal from the inside out. Because all our outside is, you guys, more times than not, is just a mere reflection of what our inside is actually doing. And so if we're not liking what's going on the outside, it's probably more to do with what's going on with the inside, and we just got to actually turn it around. And I know that's a weird thing because most people don't talk about that.
Yeah. So if you guys are like, wow, this is amazing, I want to know more, like I said, we have a 10-day reset truthfully, I'd rather you stretch it out and make it about a 30-day program, because that's actually how it works better. So you get to understand a lot of the stuff. You get to understand the science, and then you get to actually spend the 10 days and do the reset, and then you get to reflect on it afterwards. So if you guys want that, we have run it in the past as a group program, but right now there's so much going on, it makes sense to have it self-led. So normally the program's $99. Right now we want you guys to get healthy, stay healthy. So it's on sale, it's discounted, whatever, COVID pricing, whatever you want to say. It's $47. So we'll drop that link there. If you guys have questions, let us know. Of course, our children have showed up. So we hope you guys are doing amazing. Hope that some of the science helps. Say hi, Cars. Can you guys please drop some messages and tell her to pull this tooth out of her mouth? Okay, shush. All right, guys, thanks for jumping on. Happy Friday, and we'll see you for another episode tomorrow.
Hey, y'all.
Chat soon. Oh, hey, what do you always say at the end of videos?
Comment down below and hit the subscribe button. Bye.
She's gonna be my promo girl. She's always like, comment, share below, drop your links, whatever. So I'm gonna get better at that. All right, guys, take care. Have a great night.